The city of Nova Reach glowed under a sky streaked with hover cars and shimmering lights. Towers of glass and steel stretched into the clouds, their tops lost in the haze of progress. Below, the streets buzzed with life, humans rushing to work, aliens from distant stars trading goods, and drones humming overhead. It was a world where two species had learned to live side by side, though not always in peace. For Jack Tanner, a mechanic with grease-stained hands and a quick mind, it was home. He never cared much for politics or the whispers of tension between humans and the alien settlers. All that mattered was his workshop, his tools, and the quiet life he'd built with Lila. Lila was a Vorn, a species known for their shimmering blue skin and gentle ways. Her eyes glowed like soft moons, and her voice carried a melody that could calm even the wildest storm. They'd met 2 years ago when her ship broke down near Jack's garage. He'd fixed it with a grin, she'd thanked him with a smile, and somehow, they'd never stopped talking. 6 months back, they'd married in secret, a simple promise under the stars, hidden from a world that wouldn't understand. Now, as Jack tinkered with a busted engine in his shop, everything was about to change. The hollow screen on the wall flickered to life, cutting through the hum of his tools. A stern voice boomed from the broadcast. This is an emergency alert from the Earth Council. The Human Purity Act has been passed, effective immediately. All marriages between humans and non-humans are now illegal. Alien spouses must report to processing centers within 24 hours. Failure to comply will result in arrest and deportation. Jack's wrench slipped from his hand, clattering to the floor. His heart thudded in his chest as the words sank in. Illegal. Deportation. He spun toward the screen, watching as images flashed, enforcers in black armor rounding up aliens, families torn apart, crowds shouting in the streets. The broadcast looped, cold and final, like a hammer striking steel. Lila, he whispered, grabbing his comm device. His fingers shook as he dialed her. No answer. Just a flat tone, then silence. Panic clawed at him. She was at the market, selling her woven Vorn fabrics. If enforcers were already moving, she'd be a target, her blue skin a beacon in the chaos. He yanked his jacket from a hook and bolted for the door, but it slid open before he could reach it. There she stood, breathless, her eyes wide with fear. Her blue skin shimmered faintly under the shop's dim lights, and her hands clutched a small bag of goods. Jack, they're everywhere, she gasped, stepping inside. I saw them, enforcers dragging Vorn from their stalls. They're checking papers, scanning everyone. He pulled her close, locking the door behind her. I just saw the news. They've banned us, our marriage. They'll take you away if they find you. Lila's hands trembled as she gripped his arms. It's worse than that, Jack. I didn't know how to tell you before, but I'm pregnant. The world seemed to stop. Jack stared at her, his mind racing. Pregnant. A child, theirs. A hybrid of human and Vorn. He'd heard rumors of such things, rare and whispered about, but now it was real. His chest tightened with a mix of joy and terror. How long? He asked, voice low. A few weeks. I felt it this morning, something different, stronger than it should be. She pressed a hand to her stomach, her glow dimming slightly. But with this law, they'll never let us keep it. They'll take me, and the baby. No, Jack cut in, his voice firm. They're not taking you or our kid. I'll figure this out. His mind, trained to fix machines and solve problems, kicked into gear. He'd spent years patching ships and dodging regulators with clever tricks. Now, he'd use every bit of that ingenuity to protect his family. Outside, the whine of drones grew louder. Jack peeked through the workshop's grimy window. Across the street, black-armored enforcers marched in pairs, their scanners glinting as they swept the crowd. A Vorn merchant argued, only to be shoved into a transport van. Jack's jaw tightened. Time was running out. We can't stay here, he said, turning to Lila. They'll scan the whole district soon. I've got a plan, but we need to move fast. Can you walk? She nodded, though her breathing was uneven. I'll manage. Where are we going? Somewhere they won't look, not yet. He grabbed a toolbox and a battered old scanner from his bench. The Undercity. It's a mess of tunnels and forgotten pipes. I used to hide spare parts there when regulators sniffed around. We'll lay low until I can reach Milo. Milo? Lila frowned, following as he led her to a back hatch. Old friend. A pilot. He's flown under the radar for years, literally. If anyone can get us out of Nova Reach, it's him. Jack pried open the hatch, revealing a narrow ladder descending into darkness. The air smelled of rust and damp stone, but it was their only shot. Lila hesitated, then stepped forward. I trust you, Jack. Let's go. They climbed down, the hatch sealing above them with a dull clang. The Undercity swallowed them in shadows, lit only by faint maintenance lights flickering along the walls. Jack kept Lila close, his hand on her arm as they moved through the maze of tunnels. Every sound, distant drips, the hum of machinery, made him tense, but he pushed forward. He'd always been good at fixing things, finding ways out of tight spots. This was just another problem to solve, he told himself, even as doubt gnawed at him. After what felt like hours, they reached a wider chamber, an old storage bay littered with broken crates and rusted pipes. Jack set his toolbox down and pulled out the scanner, tweaking its settings. I'll jam their signals for a bit, he said, working fast. Buy us some breathing room. Lila sank onto a crate, her glow pulsing faintly. Jack, there's something else. The baby, it's not normal. I can feel it moving already, stronger than it should be. Vorn pregnancies take months to show, but this, it's like it's growing too fast. He paused, looking up from the scanner. Too fast. What do you mean? I don't know, she admitted, her voice trembling. It's like it's aware. Like it knows we're in danger. Jack's mind spun. A hybrid child, growing fast, maybe even conscious. He'd heard stories, wild tales of alien human kids with strange powers, but he'd never believed them. Until now. If that's true, he said slowly, this isn't just about us anymore. They'll want the baby, too. Not to deport, but to study. Lila's eyes widened. You think they'd? A sharp beep cut her off. The scanner in Jack's hand flared red. They're close, he said, standing. Signal's weak, but they're sweeping the Undercity. We need Milo, now. He tapped his comm, praying it still worked. Static crackled, then a gruff voice broke through. Jack. That you? What mess you in now? Milo, no time. I need you in the Undercity, Old Bay 17. Bring your ship, and hurry. A laugh rumbled through the line. Always trouble with you. On my way. Hold tight. The comm went silent. Jack turned to Lila, forcing a smile. We've got a ride. Just need to stay alive till he gets here. Above them, the faint thud of boots echoed through the tunnels. Enforcers were coming. Jack gripped his wrench like a weapon, his mind racing for the next move. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore, he was a father, a husband, and a man who'd fight the whole world to keep his family safe. The Undercity of Nova Reach was a labyrinth of rust and echoes, a forgotten world beneath the gleaming towers above. Jack and Lila crouched in the dim light of Old Bay 17, surrounded by crumbling walls and the faint drip of water from leaking pipes. The air was thick with the smell of oil and decay, but it was safer than the streets, barely. Jack's scanner blinked weakly in his hand, its jury-rigged signal jammer humming as it fought to keep the enforcers' drones at bay. Lila sat beside him, her blue skin glowing softly, her breathing shallow. The weight of her words from earlier hung between them. Their unborn child was growing too fast, maybe even aware. Jack's mind churned with questions, but there was no time to dwell. Survival came first. The distant thud of boots grew louder, a steady rhythm that set Jack's nerves on edge. He tightened his grip on the wrench, his knuckles white. "They're closing in," he muttered, scanning the chamber for anything he could use. His eyes landed on a pile of scrap metal and a busted power coil in the corner. An idea sparked. "Lila, stay low. I'm setting a trap." She nodded, her moon-like eyes watching him with a mix of trust and worry. Jack moved fast, dragging the coil to the tunnel entrance they'd come through. He'd fixed enough machines to know how to break them, too. With a few twists of wire and a spark from his multi-tool, he rigged the coil to overload when triggered. It wouldn't stop the enforcers, but it'd slow them down. "Old mechanic trick," he said, wiping sweat from his brow. "Buy us a few minutes." Lila forced a small smile. "You're always fixing things, even now." "Gotta keep my family safe," he replied, returning to her side. He checked the comm again. Static. Milo was their only shot, but the Undercity's thick walls blocked most signals. Jack's stomach twisted. If Milo didn't show soon, they'd be cornered. A sharp crack echoed through the tunnel. Jack's trap had sprung. Sparks flared in the distance, followed by shouts and the screech of metal. The enforcers had hit the coil. "That's our cue," Jack said, helping Lila to her feet. Her glow pulsed brighter for a moment, then dimmed as she steadied herself. "You okay?" "It's the baby," she whispered. "Every time I'm scared, it reacts. I can feel it pushing, like it's trying to help." Jack's jaw tightened. A child that could sense danger. It was impossible, yet here they were. "We'll figure it out once we're safe. Come on." They moved deeper into the bay, dodging debris and ducking under sagging pipes. The walls shook as something heavy rumbled above, drones, maybe, or worse. Jack's mind raced. The Undercity was a maze, but he knew it from years of scavenging parts. If they could reach the old transit hub, Milo might have a landing spot. It was a long shot, but long shots were all they had. The comm crackled to life. "Jack, you still breathing?" Milo's voice cut through the static, rough but welcome. "Barely," Jack replied, relief flooding him. "Where are you?" "Closing in on base 17. Got my bird prepped, but it's tight down here. You'll hear her before you see her. Watch for the exhaust trail." "Got it. Hurry." Jack killed the comm and turned to Lila. "He's almost here. We just need to hold out." Before she could answer, a new sound pierced the air, a low, pulsing hum. Jack froze. A drone hovered into view at the far end of the bay, its red scanner beam slicing through the shadows. "Down," he hissed, pulling Lila behind a stack of crates. The beam swept past, missing them by inches. Jack peeked out, his heart pounding. The drone wasn't alone. Two enforcers in black armor followed, their rifles glinting in the dim light. "Bio signs detected," one said, his voice mechanical through a helmet filter. "Vorn signature. She's here." Jack cursed under his breath. The jammer was failing. He grabbed a rusted pipe from the floor and whispered, "Stay still. I'll draw them off." Lila clutched his arm. "Jack, no. Trust me." He squeezed her hand, then slipped into the shadows. The enforcers were methodical, scanning each corner. Jack crept along the wall, pipe in hand, until he was behind them. With a quick swing, he smashed the drone's rotor. It crashed in a shower of sparks, and the enforcers spun toward him. "There," one shouted, raising his rifle. Jack dove behind a pillar as energy bolts scorched the air. He wasn't a soldier, but he'd scrapped enough fights in Nova Reach's back alleys to know how to improvise. He hurled the pipe at the second enforcer, catching him in the chest. The man stumbled, giving Jack a chance to sprint back to Lila. "Go," he yelled, grabbing her hand. They ran, the enforcer's shouts echoing behind them. The bay's ceiling rumbled, and a gust of hot air blasted through the chamber. Milo's ship, a battered old hauler called the Stellar Fox, descended through a broken skylight, its engines roaring. Dust swirled as it hovered, a ramp dropping with a clang. Milo leaned out, his scruffy beard and goggles unmistakable. "Move your asses," he bellowed, waving them aboard. Jack pushed Lila ahead, her glow flaring as she climbed. He followed, dodging a stray bolt that singed his jacket. The ramp snapped shut as Milo gunned the engines, the Fox lurching upward. Jack collapsed against the wall, chest heaving, as the ship punched through the skylight and into the night sky. "Cutting it close, huh?" Milo grinned from the cockpit, hands steady on the controls. "What did you do, Jack? Piss off the whole council?" "Something like that," Jack panted, turning to Lila. She leaned against a bulkhead, her glow dim but steady. "You okay?" She nodded, catching her breath. "The baby's quiet now. I think it knows we're safe, for the moment." Milo glanced back, raising an eyebrow. "Baby? You two have been busy." "It's complicated," Jack said, running a hand through his hair. "The law's not just about splitting us up. They're after hybrids, kids like ours. Lila says it's growing fast, maybe even, special." "Special how?" Milo asked, banking the ship hard to avoid a patrol drone. "I don't know yet," Lila said, her voice soft but firm. "But it's not normal. Vorn don't feel they're young this early. It's like it's reacting to everything, the danger, the fear." Milo whistled low. "Sounds like trouble. Good thing I like trouble." "Where we headed?" "Anywhere but here," Jack said. "The council's got eyes everywhere. We need to disappear." "Got a spot in mind," Milo replied. "Old mining outpost, edge of the system. Abandoned, off the grid. Used it to dodge tax collectors back in the day. We'll hole up, figure out what's next." The Fox streaked through the clouds, Nova Reach shrinking below. Jack watched the city fade, his mind spinning. He'd bought them time, but the council wouldn't stop. If they wanted hybrids, they'd tear the galaxy apart to find Lila and their child. He needed answers, about the baby, the law, everything. Lila touched his arm, her glow warm against his skin. "Jack, I heard something at the market before I ran." Whispers. "They're not just deporting aliens. They're testing them, studying pregnancies. They think hybrids are the key to making humans stronger." Jack's blood ran cold. "Stronger how?" "I don't know," she admitted. "But if it's true, they won't let us go. Not ever." "Then we fight," Jack said, his voice hard. "I'm not letting them take you or our kid. We'll find a way." Milo chuckled from the cockpit. "That's the Jack I know. Stubborn as hell. Better strap in, got company." Jack looked out the viewport. 3 sleek pursuit craft cut through the sky, their lights flashing red. The council wasn't wasting time. "Can we lose them?" he asked. "Maybe," Milo said, grinning. "This old girl's got tricks. Hold on." The Fox dove, engines screaming, as the chase began. Jack braced himself, one arm around Lila. He wasn't a pilot or a soldier, just a man with a wrench and a will to survive. But for his family, he'd outsmart the whole damn galaxy. The Stellar Fox tore through the void, its engines groaning as Milo pushed the old ship to its limits. Pursuit craft trailed behind, their sleek hulls glinting against the black expanse of space. Jack clung to a support beam in the cargo hold, his arm around Lila as the ship shuddered from evasive maneuvers. Her blue skin pulsed with a faint glow, brighter than before, and her breathing was uneven. The baby, their hybrid child, was changing her, and Jack could feel it in the air, a strange energy that prickled his skin. "Hold tight," Milo shouted from the cockpit, banking hard to dodge a volley of energy blasts. The Fox rolled, and Jack braced Lila against the wall, shielding her from the jolt. "These bastards don't quit. Can we shake them?" Jack called back, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Working on it," Milo grunted. "Got a debris field ahead, old mining junk. Might lose M in the mess." The viewport showed a scattering of asteroid fragments and twisted metal, relics of a long-dead operation. Milo steered the Fox into the field, weaving between hulks of rusted machinery. The pursuit craft followed, their weapons lighting up the dark. A blast grazed the ship's hull, and a sharp hiss filled the cabin as air vented somewhere. "Pressure drop," Jack yelled, scanning the hold. He spotted a patch kit on the wall and lunged for it, years of fixing leaks kicking in. With quick hands, he sealed the breach, the hiss fading to silence. "Got it." Milo laughed, a wild edge to it. "Knew I kept you around for something." Lila gripped Jack's arm, her glow flaring. "Jack, it's happening again. The baby, it's moving, stronger now." He turned to her, concern etching his face. Her skin shimmered brighter, and a faint hum filled the air, like static before a storm. Objects in the hold, tools, crates, trembled, then lifted an inch off the floor before dropping. Jack's eyes widened. "What the hell?" "It's reacting," Lila said, her voice tight. "Every time they get close, it pushes back." Before Jack could respond, the ship lurched as Milo pulled a sharp turn. "Hang on, found a gap." The Fox darted through a narrow tunnel of wreckage, scraping metal against metal. The pursuit craft hesitated, too bulky to follow, and their lights faded behind the debris. For a moment, silence settled over the ship. "Lost, M," Milo said, easing back in his seat. "For now. We're clear to the outpost." Jack helped Lila to a bench, her glow dimming slightly. "You okay?" She nodded, though her hands shook. "It's like the baby knows we're in danger. It's protecting us, but I can't control it." Jack's mind raced. A child with power, real power, wasn't just a miracle. It was a target. If the council wanted hybrids, they'd never stop hunting. "We need help," he said. "Someone who knows what's going on." Milo glanced back. "Got a contact at the outpost. Tara, ex-soldier, runs with a crew fighting the council. She's rough, but she hates the Purity Act more than anyone. Might have answers." The Fox limped toward the outpost, a jagged rock floating in the void, dotted with crumbling domes and landing pads. As they touched down, dust swirled around the ship, and Milo powered down the engines. "Welcome to nowhere," he said, grabbing a rifle from a locker. "Let's move." They stepped onto the outpost, the air thin and cold through the filters of their suits. A figure emerged from a nearby dome, tall, broad-shouldered, with short-cropped hair and a scar across her cheek. Tara. Her eyes narrowed as she sized them up, her rifle resting easy in her hands. "You Milo's strays?" she asked, voice gruff. "Heard you're in deep." "Jack," he said, stepping forward. "This is Lila. We're running from the council. They want her, and our kid." Tara's gaze flicked to Lila's glowing skin, then her stomach. "Hybrid, huh? Figures. They've been sniffing around for those. You know why?" Lila asked, her tone sharp despite her exhaustion. Tara motioned them inside the dome, a cluttered space filled with screens, weapons, and a handful of rough-looking fighters. "Council's got a program, Project Helix. They think hybrids are the next step for humans, stronger, smarter, better. They've been pushing the Purity Act to flush out couples like you, then scoop up the kids for testing. Jack's fists clenched. Testing? You mean experiments? Exactly, Tara said, pulling up a holomap on a table. Labs, black sites, they've got them hidden across the system. Your kid's a prize to them. Lila's glow flared, and a nearby crate slid across the floor. Tara raised an eyebrow. That normal for Vorn? No, Lila said, steadying herself. It's the baby. It's growing fast, too fast. And it's doing things. Tara studied her, then nodded. Heard rumors of hybrids with gifts. If it's true, you're not just running from the council, you're a threat to M. Jack crossed his arms. We need a plan. Hiding's not enough. Tara smirked. My kind of guy. We've been hitting their convoys, gathering intel. But you're a walking bomb with that kid. We could use you, if you're willing. Use us how? Jack asked, wary. Expose M, Tara said. Show the galaxy what they're really up to. People don't know the half of it. If we broadcast your story, your kid's birth, maybe, it could turn the tide. Jack glanced at Lila. Her eyes met his, fierce and determined. They'd see the truth, she said. Not just fear, but hope. Risky, Milo chimed in, leaning against the wall. Council's got ships everywhere. We'd need to move fast, hit a relay station to get the signal out. Then we move, Jack said, his voice firm. I'm done running. They want my family. They'll have to fight for it. Tara grinned. Good. Rest up, we roll out at dawn. Got a station in mind, but it's crawling with patrols. The group scattered to prep, leaving Jack and Lila alone in a corner. She leaned against him, her glow warm against his chest. You think this'll work? She asked. It has to, he said, brushing a hand over her hair. We're not just fighting for us anymore. Sleep came fitfully, broken by the hum of the outpost's generators. When dawn broke, a faint shift in the void's light, Tara rallied them. The Fox lifted off, joined by two smaller resistance ships, their hulls patched but fast. The relay station loomed ahead, a spire of metal orbiting a gas giant, its rings casting shadows across the void. Patrols inbound, Milo warned as they closed in. 5 ships, armed heavy. Stick to the plan, Tara said over the comm, we draw him off, you dock and rig the broadcast. The Fox dove toward the station as Tara's ships peeled away, engaging the patrols in a flurry of fire. Jack manned a turret, blasting at a pursuit craft that got too close. The station's docking bay yawned open, and Milo slid the Fox inside with a scrape of metal. Move! Jack shouted, grabbing Lila's hand. They raced through the station's corridors, her glow lighting their path. Alarms blared as they reached the control room, a wall of screens and blinking lights. Jack hacked the system with a tool from his belt, his hand steady despite the chaos. Almost there, he muttered, patching into the galactic feed. Lila, you ready? She nodded, stepping before the camera. Her glow flared, and the room trembled as the baby's energy surged. People of Earth, she began, her voice clear, this is what they fear, a child born of love, not hate. Before she could finish, the station rocked. A council cruiser loomed outside, weapons charging. Jack grabbed her. They're here. Milo burst in, rifle raised. We've got company, troops breaching the bay. Jack's eyes darted to the screens. The broadcast was live, spreading across the system. Keep it rolling, he told Lila. I'll hold them off. He grabbed a spare rifle and ran with Milo, his heart pounding. The baby's power hummed behind him, a reminder of what they fought for. Jack wasn't a soldier, but he'd learned one thing, humans didn't give up. Not when it mattered most. The relay station trembled under the assault of the Council cruiser, its corridors echoing with the clatter of boots and the whine of energy weapons. Jack crouched behind a console in the docking bay, his borrowed rifle hot in his hands. Milo was at his side, firing at the black-armored enforcers pouring through the breached doors. Sparks flew as bolts scorched the walls, and the air buzzed with tension. Jack wasn't a fighter by trade, but every shot he took was for Lila and their child, a family the Council wanted to tear apart. His jaw clenched with resolve. They wouldn't win. Not today. Keep them pinned. Milo shouted, ducking a blast that melted a crate beside him. Tara's holding the cruiser off, but we're running out of time. Jack nodded, popping up to fire a burst that sent an enforcer scrambling for cover. His mind raced, calculating like it did over a busted engine. The broadcast was still live, Lila's voice echoing through the station, reaching billions across the system. If they could hold out, the truth might spark a fire the Council couldn't put out. He glanced at the control room door behind them. Lila was in there, her glow a beacon even through the chaos. The station shook again, a deep groan of metal signaling the cruiser's cannons. Jack's comm crackled. "Jack, it's Tara," her voice cut through static. "Cruisers got us pinned, but resistance ships are inbound. Hold the line." "Got it," Jack replied, firing again. "How long?" 10 minutes, maybe less. "Don't die on me." "No promises," he muttered, then turned to Milo. "We need to buy Lila time. Any tricks left?" Milo grinned, pulling a small device from his belt. EMP grenade. Old smuggler's toy. Might fry their gear. "Do it," Jack said. Milo lobbed the grenade, and a pulse of blue light erupted, silencing the enforcers' rifles and dropping drones from the air. The troops faltered, confused, giving Jack a chance to rush forward. He slammed a crate into one, knocking him flat, then tackled another to the ground. His fists flew, fueled by a raw, human stubbornness that refused to break. Back in the control room, Lila stood before the camera, her blue skin radiant with the baby's energy. "They call us a threat," she said, her voice steady despite the battle outside. "But this child, our child, is proof we're stronger together. The Council wants to control us, to experiment on our future. Don't let them." Her words cut off as a surge rocked the room. She gasped, clutching her stomach. The glow intensified, lifting her off the floor, and the station's lights flickered. The baby was coming, now. She gritted her teeth, focusing on the broadcast. "See us," she whispered. "See the truth." Outside, Jack and Milo fought their way back to the control room, the EMP's effect fading as enforcers regrouped. A new sound roared through the bay, the Stellar Fox's engines firing up. Milo had rigged it remotely, and the ship barreled toward the troops, scattering them like leaves. "Get in!" Milo yelled, sprinting for the ramp. Jack hesitated, glancing at the control room. "Lila's still in there." "Then move." Milo shoved him forward. They reached the door as it slid open, revealing Lila floating in a sphere of golden light, her white hair swirling like a storm. The baby's energy pulsed, shorting out the station's systems. Jack rushed to her, the air crackling around him. "Lila, we've gotta go," he shouted, reaching through the light. His hand tingled as he touched her, a strange connection sparking, not just to her, but to their child. It was alive, aware, and powerful beyond anything he'd imagined. She nodded, her eyes fierce. "The broadcast, it's out. They're seeing it." The station rocked again, and Tara's voice blared over the comm, "Resistance is here. We've got them on the ropes, get out now." Milo dragged Jack and Lila to the Fox, the ship trembling as it lifted off. Enforcers fired wildly, but the resistance ships, a ragtag fleet of fighters and freighters, swarmed the cruiser, drawing its attention. The fox punched through the chaos, breaking free into open space. In the cabin, Lila collapsed onto a bench, her glow blinding. "Jack, it's time," she gasped, gripping his hand. "The baby's coming." He knelt beside her, heart pounding. "Here. Now." "No choice," she said, a pained smile breaking through. Milo locked the controls and joined them, his goggles pushed up as he watched in awe. A wave of power surged, dimming the ship's lights, and then silence fell. When the glow faded, a child lay in Lila's arms, its skin shimmering gold, a blend of human warmth and Vorn luminescence. Its tiny eyes opened, glowing softly, and a hum filled the air, a melody of hope. Jack stared, tears prickling his eyes. "It's beautiful." Lila laughed weakly, cradling the baby. "She's ours." Milo's comm beeped, pulling him back to the cockpit. "Jack, you'll want to hear this." He patched the feed through, and voices flooded the cabin, news reports, citizen chatter, resistance channels. "Mass protests in Nova Reach," one said. "Council chambers stormed, Purity Act under fire." Another, "Hybrid child born live, people are calling it a miracle." Jack looked at Lila, then their daughter. They saw her. "And they're fighting," Milo added, grinning. "Resistance says civilian ships are blocking council fleets. They won't shoot their own." The fox sailed on, pursued but unchallenged, as the galaxy shifted. Back on Earth, cities erupted, people marching, aliens and humans side by side, inspired by the child's light. The council's lies unraveled, their labs exposed by resistance leaks. Within hours, the Purity Act was repealed, its architects fleeing or arrested. Jack sat beside Lila, their daughter between them, her glow casting tiny auroras across the cabin. "It's over," he said, voice thick. "No," Lila corrected, her hand on his. "It's starting. She's the beginning." Milo called back, "Got a safe spot, resistance base, outer rim. They're calling her a symbol already. You two ready to be heroes?" Jack chuckled, exhaustion mixing with pride. "Just wanna be a dad." Days later, they landed at the base, greeted by cheers. Tara met them, her scar softened by a rare smile. "You did it," she said. "Galaxy's waking up." "Not us," Jack said, nodding to the baby. "Her." Life didn't stop moving. The resistance grew, hunting Project Helix's remnants. Jack and Lila settled into a quiet corner of the base, raising their daughter, named Arya, for her song-like hum. Her powers matured, small at first, lifting toys, sparking lights, but growing with each day. Other hybrids emerged, their families inspired to step forward, each child unique, each a bridge between worlds. One evening, Jack stood on a balcony overlooking the stars, Arya on his hip. Lila joined them, her glow a gentle match to their daughter's. "Think she'll change everything?" Lila asked. "She already has," Jack said, watching Arya wave a hand, trailing starlight. "We just showed them what humans can do, love, fight, build something better." Below, the base buzzed with life, humans, Vorn, others, working together. The old fears were fading, replaced by curiosity and hope. Arya giggled, her light pulsing, and Jack smiled. He'd started as a mechanic fixing ships. Now, he'd helped fix a world, one stubborn step at a time.